And this is quite a very timely visit you have. We've just finished our elections, a leadership shift, and a transition is happening, and the economy is booming. What are your first impressions?
Well, the first impressions of any country or any company or any town is its people, and obviously Filipino people are just delightful, um, and and they've given me the most wonderful welcome on the plane, off the plane, at the hotel, and out in the streets, and I've got a lot of photographs.
You've been here 20 years ago, but that wasn't a personal visit. So this one is your first public engagement.
Yes, it is, and I mean a lot's happened in the last 20 years. I think a lot of positive things have happened in the Philippines. Obviously, you've had some horrible things happen as well with the typhoon and the damage that that did. Um, but I think the Philippines has the chance to be maybe one of the fastest growing countries in the world. Um, and I think if people can really, now you've got a new government, work on things like stamping out corruption um, and making sure that you know that you have a really honest legal system, and honest police force and so on. If you can get that, if you can get those issues completely under control, then I think this country could be one of the great countries in the world. Um, and and we for one would love to come and invest in it.
In which areas would you invest in?
Well, I mean, we haven't invested here yet, because we want those kinds of issues to be resolved. But we are investing in a lot of other countries around here, and I think if we can get the right signals, then we can. So we're building health clubs, we're building radio stations, we're building hotels, we're building cruise ship companies. Entertainment companies. So I mean, Virgin is the kind of way of life brand. And if we feel that we can come and do it better than somebody's doing it today, then we give it a go. Um, Health clubs, I mean, I think would be the kind of quality health club that Virgin offers in Australia and other countries around here. Might be one of the first things we might do.
Health clubs as well as in Thailand, because you've got that going as well.
Yeah, we've got it going in Thailand, Singapore, and some other places. And we go in and we just create the absolute best club.
But what would you like to see in the way of the leadership shift? I mean, if you said it yourself, if you get the things right in its place, then you would come in and do business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that I think most people I've talked to would accept that the issues that I mentioned are not perfect here yet, and 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 it makes sense for this country to to absolutely fight any corruption, to absolutely persuade the police to be honest, and to make sure you've got absolutely impeccable courts. And once you have that and people feel that they can trust the system, then I think enormous amounts more, even more investment will come for this country. And it'll be just safer for citizens to live in the country when it's a country properly governed by law. Um, and I'm not, I mean, 99% seems to be very positive. It just still seems to be this 1% issue that needs to be addressed.
What is that 1%?
I think it's just it's the lack of transparency in some government circles, in some of the civil service circles, and it takes, I think, slightly corrupt companies to participate in that, and and often it's the small person that gets hurt. If a policeman asks a small person for some money and they can't afford to give the money, then the person could get into trouble, and so corruption at the top ricochets down through society. And so I think newspapers need to fight against it. And look, a lot of this is being fought, but it is a battle still to be completely won, I think. And I don't want to detract from all the good things that are going on here, which are numerous.
And you've done a good thing. Back when we were hit by Typhoon Haiyan, Virgin Unite got together, your staff got together, not only to raise money, but to send a plane, a Virgin plane, down to Manila on a maintenance checkout, stuffed with all the relief goods. How did that all come together? Because that was just an amazing coming together of spirit and effort from your staff.
I think it sort of should go without saying that if there's a crisis in the world, that companies around the world should try to address and help that crisis. And obviously we're lucky we own airlines, and therefore sometimes we've got space on those airlines to send medical supplies into crisis situations, and we've done it. We do it in quite a lot of different countries when there is a crisis, and then we also, through our foundation, we can help buy supplies and tents and other things as well. And most of my time is now spent on issues in this world, and I get enormous personal satisfaction from trying to address some of the big issues, conflict issues, or trying to protect the oceans, or trying to sort out climate change, and or which slightly more controversially, I mean, I'm on something called the Global Drug Commission, which has got 15 ex-presidents, and we've examined the war on drugs, and I think it's worth just gently saying to your new president that the war on drugs has not worked, and getting tough on drug addicts does not work. Where countries that like Portugal, for instance, it said to all people who had drug problems, "You're never going to go to prison again. We want to help you. Come forward. We will help you." And they managed to get most of those people off their drug problems by bringing them in, getting social workers and helping them. And I think that's the only way you're going to get on top of the problem with drugs, not by creating a massive war, which wars never get won. I mean, it's my sister or brother or children with a drug problem. I'd want them to get help, not put in prison.
And as you mentioned wars in the Gulf War, you had a personal experience and an engagement with a fellow Filipina. This was clearly stated in your book. Very interesting engagement you had with one who was pregnant, her second baby, and you actually helped in a hostage rescue in Baghdad. Why was it so important for you to mention that moment in your book back in 1980?
I think if you're in a position in life to be able to help a difficult situation, you must do so. And there were a lot of hostages being held by Saddam Hussein, and I knew the King of Jordan and asked him if he would write a letter to Saddam Hussein to persuade him to let the ill or the pregnant hostages leave the country. And Saddam Hussein agreed to, so we flew into Baghdad with one of our 747s, and very dark at night, and Saddam Hussein came with the hostages to the plane, and we flew out, and it's one of the best moments of my life, and one of the best moments of everybody was there. And then subsequently to that, we tried to see whether we could persuade Saddam Hussein to step down and go and live in Libya and to avoid the Iraq War. And sadly, the day that the meeting with Nelson Mandela and Kofi Annan that we'd arranged was going to take place, the bombing started, and it never happened. But I think one thing that we must all learn from the Vietnamese War, the Iraqi War, is that these wars create havoc. They don't create. They don't solve problems, and we've just got to try to resolve all the problems in the world from now on through negotiation.
Interestingly, when you grew up, it was always what Mom Eve had said, think about about other people first. This is where your happy childhood stems from. How do you think that has permeated through the whole virgin group of having to think about other people first? But first and foremost, of course, you're an entrepreneur. You got to make money from the businesses.
So I think um, the best companies are companies that are run by people who genuinely care about other people, who look for the best in people, who praise people, who are good listeners, not always want to hear their own voice, and who delegate well, um, and leave people, give people the opportunity to make mistakes and to make good things. And yeah, and when I was a kid, my mum, if I ever said anything bad about anybody, she'd send me to the mirror and made me stand in front of the mirror for 5 minutes and said, it reflects very badly on you. And it was one of the best bits of advice I've ever been given.
The most challenging growing up really is your trouble with dyslexia, the inability to be able to write, speak, or even spell properly. How were you able to overcome that in everything that you've done, not only for the business, but in all the adventures, like the reading, kite surfing? I mean, this requires a whole lot of concentration.
It's interesting. When I was at school, I would look at a blackboard and I would not understand anything on that blackboard. And age 15, I decided to leave school. I just couldn't do any exams. I was hopeless. When I went out into the real world and I came across things that I was interested in, I think I could get a better grasp on it than most people. And because I was a dyslexic, I was also very good at finding other really good people, surrounding myself with good people who could compensate for my weaknesses. And it taught me to be a very good delegator, which is very important if you're running businesses. And I think the advice I give to mothers who've got dyslexic children is let them, don't force them too hard on the things they find are difficult, but they will excel on some other areas and push them into those other areas. And a lot of the most successful people in the world were once or are dyslexic.
A lot of the entrepreneurs and innovators in this country are part of the so-called millennials, young enough to be like yourself when you were 16 and dropped out of high school. What do you advise would-be disruptors if they're faced with the conflict of having to pursue a passion and having to follow what mom and dad say about finishing school?
If they have a real passion and they have an idea that they think is going to make a radical difference to other people's lives, which is basically what a business is, I would say, do it because because I started when I was 15, 16 years old, I had a head start on all of those other people who left university at 25. So I had another 10 years of building my business before they'd even started. But you have to have that passionate idea. Otherwise, otherwise I would say go to school, go to university, and be looking all the time, thinking all the time about watching out for what can make a difference to other people's lives. And the wonderful thing about capitalism is that there are ideas all the time. If you just keep your eyes open, you're going to think, why is that done so badly? Well, maybe I should do it myself. Maybe I can sort it out. And so that's what a business is.
Screw it, just go do it. I mean, it's your favorite motto, but of course, there's also protecting the downside, which you often mention in your book. So how do you make that balance between protecting your downside and just go do it?
Yeah, so I think protecting the downside is important. I mean, so for instance, when we had a very successful record company and we decided to go into the airline business, I knew it was a very difficult business. And I was trying to negotiate with Boeing for one second-hand 747. The key to that deal was to say to them, if this business doesn't work out, we want to hand that plane back to you after 12 months. And that effectively meant that I knew that the worst that was going to happen could afford. And as it turned out, at the end of the first year, we bought 2 more 747s, and and now over the years we bought 250 or whatever. So they've done very well out of it, being giving me that flexibility.
But not all businesses have been successful. Virgin Brides is one of them. I think it's one of the rarest times I've seen you without a beauty. How did that not work out?
Virgin Brides, we just didn't find that there weren't any, basically.
But did you know then that it might not work out?
No, I mean, look, I think the thing with being an entrepreneur is you just try things, and sometimes you'll fall flat in the face, sometimes it'll succeed, and with I think we just had too many other things which were working well, and we didn't maybe concentrate enough, or maybe the pitch had put people off. I don't know.
Maybe you would have kept on the beard or something. Maybe. No. But what about Virgin Cola? I mean, that seemed like a profitable venture. I mean,
yeah, no, that was going really well.
Consumer market, and what happened to that?
We actually got too big for our boots. We were outselling Coke and Pepsi, and they decided to crush us. And Coke sent a plane full of SWAT teams and money to England, and Virgin Cola just disappeared from all the shelves. And I mean, we were the biggest selling cola in Tesco's one day, and then the next day it just disappeared. And I did not know what Coke were up to. We just could. We only found out about what they'd done, but when it was too late.
And finally, you're very big in aviation right now. Lots going on, and lots going on here in the ASEAN. Would you consider building routes down this road? Here in the Philippines, perhaps.
Building boots.
Routes.
Oh, roots. Roots. I'll build boots as well. Yes, I mean, we fly, Virgin Atlantic flies to Hong Kong, to Shanghai, to a number of cities around here. And I would very much hope that one day we can fly to the Philippines. I mean, I think, if the country continues to grow in the way it's growing, you're going to need more airlines coming here. But equally, I think with some of the wealth that the government is creating, you're going to need more infrastructure of airports and roads going to the airports and so on. I think that will help the economy and help attract airlines like Virgin Atlantic here.
It looks like we're going to see more of you here down this country. Thank you so much, Sir Richard. Really appreciate the time. Much appreciated. It's been an honor.
Yes.